I mean, how do you train for Mars? So lots of
I
people...
don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
I think you're born ready. So either you know you're born ready, or perhaps Earth is the place for you to do your exploration, and for many of us, that might be a relief factor to stay on Earth. Astronauts who go to the space station arrive to existing infrastructure. They are part of a hierarchy, part of a legacy. There's a lot of detail-orientated training, a lot of protocols to be observed, etc., etc. Arriving on the surface of the moon will be a kind of transition, I think, in my mind, I imagine, between the space station and Mars. Like, arriving on Mars is next level. It's a different planet. It's 20 light minutes away. So that's, double that for the time for a message to come back. That's the speed of light. So obviously it takes a while to get there, like 6 months. The moon is very close by comparison, just a few days away. So while we're really excited, people are going back to the moon in the next few years.
This is Good Things with Brent Lindeque. I'm on a mission to change what the world pays attention to. I believe there is good news all around us, and I spend my time hunting down and reporting on the best good news stories from South Africa and the world. On this podcast, proudly brought to you by Better Bond, you'll meet these incredible South Africans. Welcome back to another episode of Good Things with myself, Brent Lindeque. I'm excited. I'm so excited. A couple of years ago, was at an event where I had to get up on stage and speak. Did I hurt your ears? I see my cameraman going, it went too high. But I am excited. A couple of years ago, I went to an event where a couple of thought leaders and speakers got on stage to deliver a little bit about who they were to sort of corporates who could then book us. And I got to meet Dr Adriana Marais at that event. And when I chatted to her, I was so fascinated by everything about her. And today, it must be 8 years later, I've got you in studio and we're going to chat about your incredible life, where you've been and where you want to go. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks so much for having me. Firstly, just let me say how proud I am of the work you do.
Stop it.
Such an important contribution to the media that we get fed. So thank you.
Thank you. Doc, when we met... Okay, wait, before we even talk about Mars, because that's going to come into conversation here, maybe give us a bit of your creds, right? So you've studied, it's quantum something, I saw it in your bio. Can you give us a bit of background about what exactly you studied and why you chose that?
So back in 2001, what did I exactly study? Undergrad in Cape Town, physics, theoretical physics I chose, and then during my master's I did quantum cryptography in Durban at UKZN, then my PhD also UKZN and partly spent in Singapore, was on quantum biology, trying to understand life. So the idea behind quantum biology being if we look at life on really tiny scales, molecular, submolecular, atomic, electronic, can we figure out what's going on? The short answer is no. We have not yet understood life. But as a child, I dreamed of exploring other worlds. Somehow in my mind was this foresight that humans were on the brink of expanding and exploring into new worlds beyond Earth. And lo and behold, in 2012, the call for applicants to go on a one-way trip to Mars popped up in a newspaper back in the day. So I applied and was selected. That project declared bankruptcy in 2019. A whole lot of other stuff happened, and now we've got a moon mission. So
which we're going to get to.
Africa's first mission
I know,
to the
we're
moon.
very excited. We're very excited. But I need to go back to that mission to Mars, because that's when I met you. And when we'd had a discussion in passing before you got on stage and told your story, it was fascinating to me that you'd signed up, and the idea was for you to go to Mars forever, like never come back. And you'd signed up to do that. Did that not scare the living daylights out of you?
I mean, there are lots of people who live and die in the same place they were born, but for many of us, like moving to Cape Town is a one-way trip, or maybe the other way around to here in Joburg. I mean, humans are explorers. Humans, one of the most fundamental characteristics of humans, I would say, is that we are explorers. Whether we are out there searching for good things, whether we are literally traveling to new worlds, or whether we are just exploring the inner space of our own minds, our own culture, our own history, our own future, we are explorers by definition. So for me, volunteering to go on a trip to the next door neighbor planet is just a remarkable opportunity. In the 4 billion years that life has been evolving on this planet, we live now in this tiny window where things are remarkably challenging. Things, in some sense, I'm like, how can I sit here today and talk about space exploration, looking at the state of the world? But one thing we do know about the future is that it will have good things, it will have collaboration, and it will have exploration. And so traveling to Mars for me is just the embodiment of all of these, the excitement of the adventure, the possibility to discover new things, and most importantly, the opportunity to explore ourselves in a way that perhaps staying at home doesn't give us the same way of exploring. Think about putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. It's a fast track to advancing your knowledge of yourself and of others. And so we can do that figuratively, jumping in whatever deep end we are jumping in currently as humans living on this planet in this crazy time. Or we can do it literally and jump in a spacecraft and go explore a new world. So as an adventurer, someone trained in science, I just thought it's too crazy to be alive at this time and not volunteer for this project.
And I know that project, it ended because of the funding and a number of factors, but were you still training towards it all the way up to 2019?
I mean, how do you train for Mars? So lots of people...
I don't know, that's why I'm asking you.
I think you're born ready. So either you're born ready, or perhaps Earth is the place for you to do your exploration, and for many of us, that might be a relief factor to stay on Earth. Astronauts who go to the space station arrive to existing infrastructure. They are part of a hierarchy, part of a legacy. There's a lot of detail-orientated training, a lot of protocols to be observed, etc., etc. Arriving on the surface of the moon will be a kind of transition, I think, in my mind, I imagine, between the space station and Mars. Like, arriving on Mars is next level. It's a different planet. It's 20 light minutes away. So that's, double that for the time for a message to come back. That's the speed of light. So obviously it takes a while to get there, like 6 months. The moon is very close by comparison, just a few days away. So while we're really excited people are going back to the moon in the next few years, thinking about the American astronauts who are currently in quarantine for their launch on April Fool's Day, the 1st of April, but that may be pushed back. But equally serious and who've been achieving great successes over the past few years is China, the Chinese National Space Administration, who we are working with on the project.
That's why I brought you in today. I spoke about the Mars thing to give context, because that's when I first met you, and that's when I was fascinated by you. And now you're part of the first, is it the African mission to Mars?
So in 2020, let me go back. So COVID, let me go back. 2019. I could go back further, but the Big Bang. No. So let's say 2019, the Mars One project declared bankruptcy around halfway through the year. So I left my job as head of innovation for SAP Africa and established Proudly Human, thinking that the preparation of training and selection of crews to go to Mars is a necessary feature that people need to be working on. So Proudly Human was doing that. Then COVID broke out and lockdown obviously kicked in, and travel and all of the other aspects that Proudly Human needed to do to take the next steps were prevented. And at that time, it also became clear that Mars was not going to be happening first. That return to the moon was going to be on people's agendas, whether we're talking China, the US, or the major players. The moon is one of the most extreme places in the solar system, and so it's really probably a wise or prudent move to train there before going so far as Mars. On the ground on Mars, things are slightly easier than the moon in terms of radiation because of the atmosphere, which protects the surface, in terms of the temperature ranges because of the atmosphere. So the moon is actually, a great place to train, being more extreme than Mars. So we headed to the moon. At that point, I joined forces with Dr. Carla Sharp-Mitchell, my dear friend and collaborator. She established the Foundation for Space Development Africa in 2009. She envisaged her balls traveling to the moon. This is a radio telescope, very serious. BALLS is an acronym, actually, which stands for Bounced African Low Lunar Spheres. These are a set of antennae, each one being a ball, which when on the moon will act as a low-frequency radio telescope array, radio astronomy array, and the three will work together to form, it'll be the first instrument of its kind to do new science, which is not possible from Earth, from the surface of the moon. So 2023, we applied for our payload to go with China to the moon. Because up until this time, we've looked at space exploration as a race. The space race. But China's really changed that by opening up opportunities for developing or wherever we position ourselves in terms of spacefaring. You know, South Africa does a lot of fantastic manufacturing, cutting-edge components for satellites and space missions even further abroad. But Africa has not led a space exploration mission to date. So when we were accepted as a payload on China's Chang'e 8 mission, which will launch in 2029, our Foundation for Space Development Africa's Africa to Moon project has become the first all-African space exploration mission, Africa's first moon mission, to do new science not possible from Earth and demonstrate a completely new technology, Carla's balls.
That's, I'm in awe. It ticks so many boxes of good things, right? And that's what this podcast is about bringing good things to South Africans. What does this mean for Africa and for the world? We haven't been to the moon since.
So people have been landing technology there semi-successfully, a lot of crash landings, some soft landings, which means not everything went perfectly, but it wasn't a crash. But China, on the other hand, has been executing success after success in terms of lunar landings. So humans have not been to the moon since 1972. So think back to the people leading those missions. Most of them are either retired or maybe no longer with us. So that's a big gap to have left, technologically speaking.
Why did we land on the moon and then just never again?
Why do humans do any of the thing? Economics. At the heart of everything wrong with this world. No, economics. So it no longer became
because it was done.
Beneficial to spend money on a race that was already over. And that's why I think we really need to reposition space as a collaboration and not a race, because together we can do so much more. However, in spite of my opinions on the matter, the US and partners are building a base at the South Pole of the moon, and China and partners also building a base at the South Pole of the moon. And in spite of decades of living in Earth orbit and space stations, Africa's had no official participation in the International Astronaut Program, has led no space exploration mission to date, and it's taken Carla's vision and the team of volunteers, let me say, that she's gathered around her to make this possible. Obviously, China lending a hand to say we've got the infrastructure, we'd love to partner on the scientific goals that are obviously more diverse the more countries we bring in. And so there are a whole bunch of countries on our mission, from Hong Kong, Pakistan, Thailand, Iran, a joint project from Egypt and Bahrain, and a bunch of other projects like Italy and Russia also on board, making up 200 kilograms that China has generously offered up, which will be not only deployed on the surface of the moon at the lunar South Pole, but the Hong Kong robot will actually take our instrument. Our balls will be strapped to the outside of the lander, if you can imagine this, flying through like, I don't know, there's no wind, so they won't be wobbling. But there's a lot of vibration on launch. We have to test for all of that. The cold, hard vacuum of space on the way there, the radiation that that will come into our instruments, then landing on the moon, then the deployment by the Hong Kong robot, and then the functioning. So what this means for Africa, I think, is really to not only have a foot in the door, not only to have a seat at the table, but to have a seat in the rocket to actually get our hardware to the moon, but more importantly, to get our scientific agenda on the moon. This is a massive step, and hopefully an inspiration not only to people thinking about space exploration, but thinking about anything crazy, that without any budget. So to date, we have not raised budget. All of our milestones to date have been achieved through collaboration and volunteer partners who've come on board to assist us with manufacturing, with design, with assembly. All of the aspects that we've needed have been volunteered. So there's the scientific aspect.
I need to get into what the science is.
Okay, I haven't even got there.
You haven't got there yet.
No.
So we're planning. I say we because now I'm part of it.
Please,
I'm part of the team.
Please, we're all part of
the
it.
team. We're planning on going to the moon, and you're going to have these instruments there to do what?
So on Earth, we have a great view of the night sky, right? With telescopes, we have an even better view of the night sky. However, there's a part of the electromagnetic frequency range, so this is the light coming in from the universe. So very low frequency signals, actually anything between 0 and 20 megahertz, get deflected or interfered with by the atmosphere and the ionosphere. So they don't come through our atmosphere. So no matter how big the telescopes are that we build on the surface of the Earth, 500 meters in diameter, the biggest one in China, the square kilometer array radio telescope that we're building in the Northern Cape has an effective square kilometer area. But no matter how big we build them, we can't see below 20 megahertz because of the atmosphere interfering with these signals. So we've known this for some time, that we need to build very low frequency instruments and put them either in space or somewhere else to detect these signals. And the moon, being a close by location, is a natural celestial body to do this, and an ideal location to do radio astronomy, in fact, without an atmosphere. For various other reasons, it's like a holy grail location to do radio astronomy. So our technology demonstrator is just 3 balls to demonstrate that this new instrument in the shape of a ball with 3 orthogonal loop antennas that make effectively an omnidirectional ball, meaning however it rolls and lands up, it can look in all directions in space, will be a technology demonstrator for what we envisage as the larger instrument on the far side of the moon, a 55 balls instrument, one for each nation in Africa. That's the long-term goal. So the 3 balls demonstration will happen in 2029. And if all goes to plan, then the larger.
We're putting good things into the universe.
We have a very reliable launch partner who's really good at landing on the moon. So presumably all goes to plan, and then we build a bigger instrument on the far side. I mean, this has been the objective of NASA and ESA and Roscosmos and the powers that be in radio astronomy and in space exploration for decades. Because the far side not only has its back to Earth with all of our technological and natural emissions in this frequency range, but also the sun is blocked out for 14 days during the lunar night. So the far side of the moon is a really radio quiet zone where even very faint signals from the very early stages of the universe can potentially be detected. So this is potentially Nobel Prize winning science, which we are working towards. But again, through collaboration, we can achieve these goals of the advancement of knowledge for humanity.
I have to ask a question. I mean, Taylor's looking at me, and she believes many different things. Are we looking for life? Are we looking for life? I mean, I'm going there. Are we?
Nice.
Is that what we're looking for? Whoa. Don't go anywhere. This is just a 10-second ad. This episode was proudly brought to you by BetterBond, turning good things into home things. Because owning a home should feel like good news. And BetterBond is good news. Plus, they're just a really lacquer brand to partner with. That's it. Ad over. Back to the poddy.
I mean, kids ask me that question all the time, and I think all adults want to. But honestly, like NASA and the space exploration agencies have spent billions of dollars on asking this exact question, so no need to be shy. We are looking for techno-signatures, so amongst our objectives, we're going to look at the sun and the low-frequency emissions, the Earth, the low-frequency emissions, the interaction between these, which is space weather. The galactic background itself emits interesting things at low frequencies, some of which remain to be detected. But another thing we'll be looking for is indications of non-natural processes. So they call them like techno-signatures, so an indication of some kind of non-natural, i.e. technological feature of something. Perhaps, let me not go into details of what, who knows. So we are also thinking about looking for this in our data sets that we eventually send back. The good news is that we will have access to the data along with the Chinese science team for 1 year, after which time the data will be mandatorily made public. This is the Chinese protocol. So for any any seekers out there who want to pour through the data and look
Taylor,
for aliens
you
themselves.
Will know. There is, to our viewers, you will know. You'll be able to find it out because it'll be public.
I mean, if aliens are communicating, maybe they would communicate in the sub 20 megahertz frequency band because they know we can't detect it from it. But that's a more fringe opinion.
What are some of your fears around this? Because obviously it's a big risk. It's a lot of pressure. You just said this could be Nobel Peace winning. So what are some of the fears that you might have?
I mean, I think my biggest fears are on where we're going as a society right now. A lot of the time I feel like what gives me the right to stand up talking about space exploration when we've got so many challenges to deal with here on Earth. But I think what we have to do at this point is say we've all got something to contribute. We've all got our passions and our dreams. And the way that we do things is actually more important than what we do. And so even if the mission fails, even if all of my missions for the rest of my life fail, which is a possibility on a bad day, we need to think about the way that we're doing it. And if we are doing it with good intentions, if we're doing it with a spirit of collaboration, if we are doing it to shine a light for future generations, to inspire future generations, if we are doing it to bring more people on board, if we are doing it to help others to reach our level of knowledge, if we've been blessed to have had 10 years in university. All of these things are good motivations. And as long as we have good motivations, I think it doesn't matter how the project turns out. We will keep forging ahead, no matter what. I think exploration, collaboration, compassion are essential features of a future we can be proud of. So hopefully everything works out. But if it doesn't, we'll keep trying and keep trying again.
Keep trying. And are you going to get an opportunity in your future that you can envisage that you would be going to space, whether it be to the space station or to the moon, or maybe even on an African mission to Mars?
So, like many things in Africa, you got to do it yourself, right? So there is no African astronaut program currently, in spite of the establishment in more recent years of a bunch of space agencies across the continent. This is great. But relatively, we still own very few. Less than 1% of satellites are African-owned, whereas we make up 20% of the population. As Africans, I think we are accustomed to living in resource-constrained environments compared to some other parts of the world. And this is actually an ideal characteristic for exploring space. Like, talk about resource-constrained environments, talk about the need for innovation, thinking out of the box, making do with less to do more. I think Africans are ideally suited as astronauts, resilient, innovative people. And so, if we will establish the African astronaut program, even if I'm too old to become an astronaut myself before I die. I've said that publicly now. So most people maybe don't know that the International Space Station has allegedly reached the end of its lifespan. At least to refurb it further would cost a lot, too much. Let's not talk about the money that a certain person wants to continue waging war, which reaches into the hundreds of billions. But yes, apparently the International Space Station may be decommissioned in the early 2030s. At that point, the only one left will be the Chinese space station, unless a private space station is launched or multiple private stations are launched before then. So that's certainly a possibility. I think doing experiments, African designed and created experiments in one of the space stations is a great stepping stone. Personally, I still have my sights on Mars. And the astronauts that were stranded in the space station recently, we probably remember, were in their 60s, so I've got at least 20 years left to get myself there. But watch the space. We're working on establishing an African astronaut program, I think with a slightly different touch. Let's put the protocol and the detail-oriented factors in, but let's put a touch of adventure. The first people arriving on Mars are going to have a different kind of expectations of them than people arriving in the space station. So let's re-envisage African astronaut training programs. That's on the cards.
It's very exciting, and you're just as fascinating as the first day I met you. I'm looking at my crew that are all sitting here. They're like, what is going on? We're going to the moon. It's going to be, and then we're going to Mars. It's incredible. If the viewers and listeners at home, if they want to follow your journey, if they want to, I don't know, if they want to one day become an astronaut and you're a stepping stone to get there, how do they get hold of you? How do they follow these things?
So I think back to what I said earlier is that if you want to get something done, I think we know living on this continent, you mostly got to do it yourself. So start an organization, start a local chapter of an existing organization, do your thing on a small scale, and let Africa to Moon show you that you don't need budget to do that. Budget comes, don't ask me about financial advice, by the way, but budget can come later. Passion comes first, vision comes first, importantly. Then your team. Then you gather the team around that vision, around that passion. Probably you need people with jobs because maybe you don't have money to pay them, and that's how Africa to Moon has worked. So let me say my admiration and respect to all the engineers who are doing the real heavy lifting of actually building this thing. But start your own initiative, and then you'll naturally meet other like-minded individuals as you go, and then collaborate with their initiatives. And gradually, through an individual with a vision, you can collect a whole planet of people behind you to achieve goals. And I really hope that exploration of Mars does become a planet-wide collaboration and not a space race as the past has been. Hopefully Africa to Moon demonstrates this heart of collaboration in our mission, so that others can follow, whether they're doing space exploration or Earth exploration. Vision first, and passion, and collect your team.
And the budget will come somehow.
The budget will come.
The budget will come somehow. Doc, if they want to follow you, if they want to collaborate with you, do you have a website? Do you have something that we can share?
Yeah, so we're really excited. Juicy, celebs who build websites worth having is building us our new website. africatomoon.com will still be the URL. So africatomoon.com, check it out. It will be transformed in a week or two. Otherwise, you'll find us under the Foundation for Space Development Africa, or just search for Africa 2 Moon with the letter 2, and you'll find all of our stuff, or just search for my name and you'll find links to all of that.
Been incredible chatting with you today.
Thanks, Brent.
And thanks for the catch-up.
Keep up the excellent work.
You keep up the excellent work. You're going to the moon. This is insane. What a fascinating conversation. If you've loved it, please share it, or push like, or subscribe, or say something in the comments. I say this every week. It changes the algorithms. We're fighting algorithms here, as well as fighting to get to the moon. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
To everybody out there, like I say every week, wishing you only good things. Okay, love you, bye. That's it. For more good news, visit www.goodthingsguide.com. Okay, love you, bye.